Hi there. Before you jump into this episode, we want to make sure our listeners know about the How Do You Drew Patreon page, where we release exclusive content for our members.
We've shared unedited video versions of podcast episodes, rare Drew Barrymore photos from our digital archives, movie commentaries, and so much more.
We're currently working through a deep dive of each chapter of Little Girl Lost, which, if you don't know, is Drew's out-of-print autobiography released when she was only a teenager. And it's been really good stuff, you guys.
There's already plenty of content to dig into and lots more to come. So join now for as little as $1 a month and support us at How Do You Drew.
Yeah, go to patreon.com/howdoyoudrew to join today. Thank you.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello, welcome to How Do You Drew?
This is a Drew Barrymore podcast brought to you by thedrewseum.com.
And sponsored by our friends at Positive Medium.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Ashley. Hi.
And hello, welcome to October.
Yeah, our first episode of October. We're not going spooky yet, but don't worry. Doppelganger is ahead.
It is coming, and it is very spooky that movie was made. No.
Very scary indeed.
Okay, so let's jump in. We've had this topic floating for a little while. We've got a lot at the top because the show's back. And let's do it. So let's start with the top of the show. What do we got?
This is just, one of those things where our timing happens to be incredible. It's a coincidence, cosmic coincidence. It's not like anyone's copying us on this one, but okay. On this one, we'll get to that. But our Patreon episode for Chapter 8 of Little Girl Lost, we just released that a week or two ago. And that chapter is called See You in the Morning, and it takes place during filming of the movie See You in the Morning. Mm-hmm. And then first week of the Drew Barrymore show, or second week, Jeff Bridges, her movie stepdad, as she called him, came out for a little reunion. And I just loved the timing of that.
Yeah, that was really kind of cool. We love those cosmic coincidences. And it was sweet. It's always sweet seeing her with people who she had like a childhood relationship with, because she has this like lingering kind of like cuteness, I don't know, around them. I don't know.
Yeah, she definitely it had that paternal sort of like, oh, my dad feeling.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
They showed a very brief clip from the movie, and I just had to laugh because it was probably like the worst example of her acting in that whole movie. Poor 13-year-old Drew. And then she said that she had loved working with him because she didn't have any real father figures, and he, quote, looked like such a nice dad. And he felt so nurturing, empowering, and joyful. So That's just neat to hear. Like, after, she doesn't really talk about him in the book. She says that I think she admired him, but she mostly talks about how hard that time in her life was and how much she was struggling. They didn't talk about that on the show, which totally understandable, but it's kind of neat to get both sides of it.
Sure. Yeah. I also love how when you watched it, you're like, he mumbles so much that I had a hard time understanding what he was saying.
His voice is so deep and grumbly.
Yeah. It's like one step away from why am I forgetting his name? Who's famously mumbly?
Oh, I don't know.
Harrison Ford. He's one step away from Harrison Ford, who's always like, rah, 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 rah.
And I did love that she was in her clothes that happened to look like the Big Lebowski clothes. That was really cute. It was a great segment.
It was really cute.
There's been some really good interviews on the show recently, so they're doing a good job over there.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch more frequently as well.
I know, it's fun to know you're watching along.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's just kind of follow up a little bit about that Charlie's Angels 3 news that we talked about. That was kind of like
rumors.
Yes. So let's talk about what you found that really kind of puts it in its place a little bit.
Yeah, credit for this actually goes to our follower, Rodney. He ended up, I guess, signing up for that Production Weekly that was the one that, broke this possible news. And it seems a little fake to me because the address that is listed for Flower Films in this info is like a weird mashup of two of their former offices, which they don't have either of those anymore. They don't have, I don't think they have any office. I think they just kind of work out of the CBS.
Yeah, that is what it seems like if we had to guess. Yeah.
So that was like a red flag to me that maybe there's really no truth behind this, but like, why did this publication post this? It's so strange, such a mystery.
It is really strange. I guess we'll find out. But like we said, when the Charlie's Angels third film is eventually made, we're there for it.
Absolutely.
We'll see if that happens. Okay, so now let's get into something that we found a little odd, frustrating. We are working on how we feel about this. Let me just play a little clip. Should I just introduce it that way?
Yeah, because like it started with just the clip, and with the clip, I was like, that's okay, and then it got worse.
This is what Ashley heard.
Okay, so I'm not in a museum. I'm in our Drewseum.
What?
Wait, that's us.
That is us. That was a clip from the Drew Barrymore show.
So I was like, okay, that's a little like, all right, but like, whatever. But then they ended up doing this entire segment with Chris Hemsworth.
Yep.
Opening the grand opening of the Drewseum. And there's like a little graphic with like an animated graphic and everything with our name.
It just happens to be our name, guys.
Yeah. And it was really silly. The segment, totally pointless. Like it was a Chris Hemsworth exhibit, but it was like silly coloring books with his face. Like very, very pointless and silly.
Yeah. A 3D printed head that looked like him. That was, and then like Ross dressed in clothing covered in his face under. It was very silly. So, if you all don't know, we've been utilizing this name Drewseum since at least 2005.
Yeah, that's when we like decided that was going to be the name. We registered the domain in 2005. So I'm happy to round up to 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I want to say like a punch in the gut for me. And that might be sounding dramatic, but this is very like, I mean, we're very attached to this name. And it's not like nobody who works on the show is familiar with that name.
Right. So we are just grappling with this. We also, are reaching out to them to kind of talk about the fact that we noticed.
So that's all we're going to say about that. I went from feeling sick to my stomach to feeling like there could be lemonade out of these lemons.
Right. At the very least, we have clips that say our name in Drew's voice now.
I mean, the graphic is freaking adorable, but I'm like,
it really is.
It should be about us.
But yeah, so from silly Chris Hemsworth temporary exhibit to question mark. So
yeah, because we're like, if you want a Drewseum, we can give you a Drewseum. So anyway, just we'll see. We'll see, guys. We'll see.
We will see. Yes, we noticed. We know, we are on it.
And thank you to everybody who reached out to us, kind of feeling the same feeling we did of like, what the hell? So thanks, you guys. And we're working on preserving our legacy.
Yes. Yes, we are. Now on to more lovely things. What did Drew proclaim her love for this week?
I love love.
All right, settle in, everybody, because we've got a lot. We're going to start with she loves, quote unquote, duty. And that is Jeff Bridges' grandkids' nickname for him, like the dude.
Dudey. Yeah. But it happens to sound like duty. Yeah. I do love that.
She also loves a big statement belt.
Oh, yeah, we have examples of that.
A bow. The flouncy trounciness of a skirt.
Same.
So good. She loves television or anything that is about a lot of different things.
Vague.
She loves a grit, as in like grits.
Okay.
Yeah.
A grit, singular.
Yeah. A grit and a savory.
Okay.
And a cheese and chive scone. I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
Because I always do with food.
But I knew that one especially. She loves children's books. She loves that the Swifties are so generous. Like, what about the Droobies? She loves a ceviche.
Okay.
A blackened fish.
Okay.
Sleeping in the bed with her daughters, of course. Chez Sardine.
Chez Sardine.
She loves New Hampshire.
Oh, that's real close to me.
She also loves travel, so she could go from New Hampshire to Maine.
She sure could.
And finally, she loves Real Simple magazine.
Okay. Now for our Drewism of the week.
You know, those cool little isms that we do.
All right. The context of this one was she was talking about how she'd been having racing thoughts while she was trying to fall asleep the previous night. And she said, you know, that game Tetris. I was playing Tetris, anxiety, panic attack edition. Poor Drew. So I guess her thoughts were whatever the Tetris sounds are.
Anxiety, panic attack edition.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one.
I love that analogy of just like things trying to make sense in your mind and you're just like twisting and turning the ideas in your head, trying to get them right before you fall asleep. Oh, Drew.
The perfect Drewism.
It's perfect. All right. So now we get to jump into this week in Drew history. Okay, where are we going?
All right, let's go way back to before you were born and I was just a little baby. October 5th, 1982.
Okay.
On that day, only that day, Drew filmed the Epcot Center, the opening celebration TV special. Epcot had officially opened on October 1st, just FYI, so it had been open for a few days. And she did that with legendary comedian, I guess, Danny Kaye. Who I don't enjoy in this at all because he sings very creepily to her while touching her face in a whole bunch of ways that I just don't like. I just don't like it.
We have multiple examples of people like touching her face and singing songs to her.
Older men, not just people. It's always old men. All right. But it's very sweet. They're playing on the whole, like, she's a friend of E.T., and which is interesting to me because, like, Universal and Disney were not.
Oh, that's a good point.
I always found it, like, fascinating. Yeah.
I feel like now it would have been like she can only do stuff with Universal. Like, she cannot do, you know, they didn't own her like they might have now.
I totally agree with that, especially after watching that Child Star documentary.
Good point.
They really got into that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very sweet. She's got, of course, the yarn pigtails that she always sported back then. It was kind of her little trademark. And very sweet, like pastel purple and pink outfit. I always love that there's a part where a butterfly lands on a flower right behind her. Like, I remember noticing that when I first saw this on TV back in the late 90s. Just like, oh my gosh, like it's a sign of the future or something. This had a really fast turnaround. It aired October 23rd, which is kind of amazing to me.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I think it's worth noting that this wasn't the only time she worked with Disney because she also co-hosted the Disneyland 30th anniversary TV special with none other than Charlie himself, John Forsythe.
That's right. And how many years later was that?
3. Yeah, not even, less than 3.
Okay.
So maybe at one point Disney was like, yeah, we're going to work with Drew Barrymore. And then they found out things and they were like, nope, bye.
Yeah, if we're talking about right before she got into all her bad girl shenanigans.
Yeah. Like a true Disney kid.
Yeah. And there are some neat, like, there's footage that thankfully is online. You are able to find like the full special, it appears, on YouTube.
This is Drew Barrymore, one of the first actresses to meet E.T. personally and a national delight. Now, I hope you've got comfortable shoes on because I'm going to take you on a real long journey.
Where are we going?
Well, we're going out into the past and the future, past those walls into the land of energy and motion and communication covering thousands of years of progress.
Maybe I should bring a snack.
I think if you just bring your curiosity, that'll be enough.
I do like there's one part where she says like, what's so great about the future? And like doing this for This Week in Drew History. It all just felt very asynchronous. We're in the future right now talking about this.
What's so great about the future? I feel like that should be our sound for This Week in Drew History. So, of course, as usual, we'll link to some footage from this on the episode page, so make sure you check that out.
Yeah, I actually just have somebody commented on our Instagram at How Do You Drew Pod saying like, oh, I used to go to the Drewseum like in 2006. I remember it. And now I go to look at your episode pages.
Oh,
I thought that was so cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
The Drewseum.
Everyone should do that. The episode pages are great.
Yes, they are. And that's where we get to share things from our archive, but also things that Ashley finds during her research online. So it's the place to get all the extra deets and the sources and all that stuff. And I actually think this promo photo is really cute of Drew.
Oh yeah. And I think I own a copy of this one, so I love that.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right. Okay, so should we get into what's new with Drew?
Do you want to hit the headlines?
Let's do it. This is so cute.
Yeah, it's really cute.
So Ross Matthews and his husband, Dr. Wellington Garcia Matthews, they are releasing a children's book called Tio and Tio, the Ring Bearers. And it's about their wedding and their little nephews who were the ring bearers. And on the cover, there's this really cute little illustrated version of the flower girl, who is, of course, Drew. But she's like a little girl, but she's got the big yellow dress that Drew wore.
I can't wait to get a copy of this in my hands and see if there are more illustrations of Drew. I'm assuming there have to be.
And then she also wrote the foreword, which is so sweet. I found an excerpt, and she said, I hope that as a parent that anyone who reads this enjoys the fact that we must allow our kids autonomy as we also try to guide them along, which is very nice.
Aw, love that.
This will be on sale April 15th, 2025 So,
that feels
big
far
lead
away.
Time. Yeah, I agree.
I'm like 2025, that's not just coming around the corner or anything.
Nope.
Holy crap. Feels further away than it probably actually is.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's get into a little bit about the Child Star documentary that Demi Lovato released on Hulu. We talked a little bit about this, about that we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And now it's been released and we've both watched it. And it was really well done. I'll just say that, like, very generally. I love that they included Drew because she was like the representative of like another era.
She really was. You're right.
Even though it's mostly talking about like the 90s. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess Christina Ricci isn't too far behind her.
You're right. Christina Ricci is like one of the other. I was excited to see Christina Ricci. I forgot that she was going to be in it.
And it was interesting that like her struggles with drugs and alcohol were never publicized.
Right.
Like she hit it well, I guess.
Yeah, because I was surprised.
Yeah, same. She said she used to have like vodka in her Diet Coke can. Her assistant would like put it in there for her or something.
She said she'd have a warming Diet Coke.
Yeah, warming. That's right.
So let's get into a little bit about Drew's segment.
Yeah, I wish it could have gone deeper. I would love to like see what was on the cutting room floor because, of course, there's only so much time for each interview. But one thing I really liked, and I was like, yes, Demi, is Drew started doing her thing about how she takes full responsibility for everything that ever happened to her and she doesn't blame anybody else. And I've been struggling with that concept. I mean, it's admirable, but while reading Little Girl Lost, I'm like, dude, no, so many people failed you. So I like that Demi pushed back on that. And she said, like, well, it's hard not to blame other people for what happened to you when there were people who were giving you substances when you were a kid.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, yes, Demi.
Like, yes, point out the fact that Drew, this little person, cannot take responsibility for what was happening around her, what was allowed to happen around her, the environments that she was put in. She was not just like walking into clubs alone, you know, like there was some enablement for sure.
Oh, for sure. And she specifically mentioned someone we've been talking about doing Little Girl Lost. This is all on our Patreon. If you guys don't know what we're talking about for some reason, we are going deep diving chapter by chapter, giving you lots more info than you would ever have if you just read the book on your own. Go on over to our Patreon.
Patreon.com/HowDoYouDrew.
Anyway, we're frequently talking about this character, Amy's mom in the book. She's the one that first gave Drew pot and then also was just like, come on over to my house anytime you want to get stoned. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that's who Drew was talking about because she said that my friend's mom gave, or yeah, right? My mom's friend. That's what she said.
She did say, yeah, my mom's friend, like, gave us weed. We thought she was so cool. And then you noted that she says she gave weed to me and her son. And I was like, I wonder if she's like doing an amalgamation of like Amy's mom and like Sophia Loren's kid.
God.
You know,
could be. I would love to know who Amy's mom. Amy's mom was supposedly like a musician, right?
Yeah, that's right. Or something like that.
We haven't uncovered that one yet.
We have not.
And then Drew said, you know, kind of thinking back on herself at 10 doing these things, she said, having a 10-year-old daughter now, it's just unfathomable. And I was thinking about little Frankie doing, it is like brain breaking. Like you just can't believe that Drew was as little as she was when these things were going on.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And then I like this quote. She said, I can't believe how much I respect life, knowing that I disrespected it so many times. And I love that she still carries that with her. I think post rehab, like she's just appreciated every little thing about life. Like, do you remember on Inside the Actors Studio? She talks about when she was in rehab that she would see like a traffic light and think it was the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah.
I feel like she still carries that with her.
I think she does too. I think it's actually kind of amazing, despite all the renaissances that she's had and how much success she's had, how grounded I think she still is about these things.
She still expects it to be taken away.
Yeah.
kind of sad, but I think it has kept her to be like such a, you know, the person we love.
It's made her who she is. Yeah. It's made her who she is to be fearful somehow, which sucks. Hungry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I definitely suggest you guys watch that if you haven't. Again, it's on Hulu. And then they had Demi on the show to promote it. And it was kind of some of the same conversations. I did find it interesting, the whole like we kind of mentioned, this merchandising of child stars.
Yeah.
Like Drew kind of avoided that for the most part. Like she was nothing like Hannah Montana or whatever.
Oh God. Yeah.
But she does mention being on blankets and lunch boxes for ET, you know, which we like own. And it is kind of weird when you think about it. Like this little 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl and her face just being plastered on items to sell them.
For it to be like right after her first major picture and suddenly your face is on objects that random people can buy.
Yeah.
But I agree. This documentary was really well done. And it gets deep in a way that I think is valuable for people to know about like what child actors have gone through, go through. It was really good. And like exactly like you said, I would have loved to see what's on the cutting room floor regarding Drew's part of it.
Let's make it happen, Demi. Hey, Drewbies. We are here to tell you about our website hosts, Positive Medium, and they sponsor the podcast. We've been clients of theirs for over 10 years, and we use them for all our website needs on thedrewsium.com.
Their services include customized web design, professional coding, search engine optimization and marketing, plus hosting, which has been huge for us for many years.
Plus, their incredible customer service has been one of our favorite features. They've literally saved our site quite a few times, and they always help with minor troubleshooting in a matter of minutes. So whether that's coding issues or back-end questions, etc., we reach out, we get help immediately, which is just invaluable.
Lucky you. To our listeners, Positive Medium is offering 25% off any managed WordPress hosting plan using our promo code DREW. That's DREW. Visit our friends over at positivemedium.com.
Thank you.
Okay, so should we get into this weekly topic?
Yay! I'm excited about this one, you guys. We are getting back to our Movieline magazine series. If you remember, we covered Movieline March 1992. That issue was in our episode 81, and that was like quite the episode and quite the article we went through. This article is also written by Stephen Rebello, and he will go on to do the 1995 article as well. So it's fun. We have this like, them coming back together.
Yeah.
And they like always reference to the previous one. So I like that.
Fun. We love it. The photography was by Albert Sanchez, who she worked with a couple of times, including the first time she was photographed for a feature in Movieline in February 1990 about young Hollywood writing and performing poetry. I don't even have this in my collection still.
Yeah, we didn't find out about this for so long. And it's just one page of her and then other people. I don't have the full thing. I just have her page, but it's a really cool picture of her sitting on a bench with her poetry book and a little quote from her. I think this was the thing about Cafe Largo, which we talked about last episode, because the Rob Lowe birthday party was at a different club by the same owners.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Oh, that's cool. And the same photographer, Albert Sanchez, also did USA Weekend from 1998, which is not the most exciting shoot, but because it's from so early in my collecting, and because that magazine is like literally one of the first things I collected, I have definitely like sentimentality about that shoot. So I'm like, oh, cool.
That makes sense. It's funny, like that one and this one both have a lot of like laying on the ground in silky clothes.
I was just going to say there's some like weird similarities between these that you wouldn't expect.
I totally agree.
Also, does it blow your mind that it's only 4 years between USA Weekend 1998 and Movieline 1994?
Yeah, they're completely like worlds apart in my mind.
It feels like a different person. I think we've talked about this so many times, but like anything that's like before 98 feels like a million years ago.
Because we'd missed out on it.
Right. Right. And then you also noted that the same photographer also now works a lot with RuPaul and the Drag Race and like Dita Von Teese. So that's cool.
Yeah, it was so funny because I was listening to the podcast, The Bald and the Beautiful, which has 2 Drag Race alums. And they were talking about like, oh, no one's allowed to photograph me, like, unless you're Albert Sanchez. And I was like, what? We're about to talk about, it can't be the same Albert Sanchez, could it?
No way. That's how you found out?
It was so weird.
I love that that's how you found out. That it just like fell into your lap because of other media you were consuming.
Yep. Cosmic coincidence.
Amazing. The styling for the shoot was done by Tom Myers, the hair by Keone, and makeup by Bethany Carlin. Which, do we know at all if she's worked with them other times?
Not that I have noted.
Okay. This is something we're trying to work on our archive and have like very complete, but we haven't compiled all that info.
What's so funny, like every time I'm like, okay, I'm looking at a magazine, I'm gonna note down who did all those things in the credits, and then I go to like put it in our spreadsheet. It'll be one I already did.
Oh no!
Like, damn it! There's so many we haven't done, but
yeah. So let's get into the photos a little bit. These are just very kind of ho-hum as far as their like outfits that she's wearing and all of that, but they are just really like simple, beautiful images of her looking like very classy.
Yeah, it's kind of like glamour photography, maybe you would call it. They've never really been a favorite of mine, but like if I look at them objectively, I know they're really beautiful. I just don't know that they like show her personality.
That might be what it is. Like, it feels like somebody else.
Yeah.
In a way that's not really in a playful way. In a way that's sort of
just laying around looking luxurious.
They are very loungy. I like how the cover she's laying down. The first page, like full page that goes across 2 pages is her laying down. The second one that goes across 2 pages, she's also laying down. Much lounging. I'll just say one more thing about these photos. I think you just need to see them because
just go to the episode page. You can see them all.
The black dress that she's wearing I love that thing.
I've always known you like that.
It looks like something I would have worn in high school.
Back when my dad would have called you goth. Totally.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's very like, we're going to go see Placid. Right?
I like how nobody knows what that means.
If you know, you know. It's an industrial band that we both used to date people that were in it, okay?
Yes.
We went through that phase.
And we both would dress sort of like one of the pictures of Drew in Movieline.
Black strappy.
With like something exposed that might just be your shoulder.
There are so many outtakes for this shoot. It's one of the rare ones where they ended up on some agency at some point. They're not great quality, but there are so many. We couldn't even possibly go through them all. I picked like 5 or 6 that we'll throw in the episode page that you guys can check out, but they're all like the same general setup. There is one where she's wearing like a weird vest, I think it is. I don't know what that is. And like sashes and again, lounging and silky. And
what I was going to say, and I realized the other thing that makes it very like, I don't want to use the word boring because I don't find them boring, but like they're white backdrops. It's like studio. And most of the clothing she's wearing are like, except for that black, awesome, gothy sort of adjacent industrial dress. Everything else is just like plain.
Yeah.
Very plain. I can't even think of anything else I can say about them. Because we are here to talk about the article.
Yeah. And we're going to give a lot of direct quotes in this one because Drew is just so quotable in it. And I think it's a little more fun to hear her direct words. We try to like summarize, you know, a lot, but sometimes it's just way more fun to hear what she had to say.
Totally. It's one of my favorite things to just quote her directly. All right. So let's get into the article kicking off, talking about Drew presenting at the Billboard Music Awards, which was in December 1993. So there's our timeline of when they did the article.
Yeah, probably very soon afterward. So this was my like thought as I was doing this.
Yeah.
So she presented, and I'm like, we've seen the pictures of her in that, again, a long silky dress, weirdly enough. But I don't even know if I've ever thought of looking for the footage of it. I think I just always thought she was attending it for some weird reason. And this was the first time it really clicked in my brain that she presented.
Yeah.
I found it within a matter of minutes, had never seen it, didn't have a clue what was going to happen, what I was going to watch. It was interesting. All right.
So annoying.
I guess we need to explain.
Oh, God. Okay. So, yeah, we had just for the first time saw this footage. And it's gone.
Shit. Well, it says it's not available in our country. Maybe somebody else can watch it, but we were going to play it for you guys. But I at least wrote a summary of what happened.
All right. So let's summarize what was in that clip that's now been taken off the internet.
Damn it. She comes out and she messes up her lines and she says, of course. Like she's upset with herself. She interacts via pre-taped video with her Wayne's World 2 co-stars, Dana Carvey and Mike Myers, which is fun. I love Wayne's World. Yeah. And then while they're playing like that footage of them, you can kind of hear her like next to the mic. And she's like, I knew I was going to mess up. And then she announces the #1 rock artist winner, and that was Aerosmith. So she's actually on stage for quite a while.
Yeah, she is.
You can tell she's just like, fuck.
Yeah, but I had never seen that. Like, it was completely unfamiliar to me. She walked out and I was like, wow, I've only seen pictures and no footage of her.
Yeah, pictures of her outside, like not at the actual event. Really neat. I'm hoping we can get this back so you guys can check it out too.
Maybe this footage will come back. Oh my God.
Darn it. This footage has been up for 4 months and the day we go to use it. It was working earlier today for you?
Yeah. It was working for me like 2 hours ago.
So that's where we're at. That's what they're talking about in this interview right at the beginning.
Yes. And they kind of jump to Musso and Frank Grill, where they're having lunch, Drew and Stephen Rebello. And it talks about how, like, the day after this Billboard Music Awards, there was a rumor circulating that she had her quote unquote thing pierced. I did not get my thing pierced, nor do I wear a ring down there. Steve, you know the story isn't true. Why would I inflict this kind of pain on myself? Besides, you know me. If I did have one, that would mean I'd had made a decision to have one, and I would be proud of it. I'd be like, yeah, I got my thing pierced.
Totally true.
It's true. She would just be honest about it. Then Stephen notices that the waiter's kind of hovering and listening over because Drew's probably being pretty animated. Yeah. And then she kind of is very charming and says that she wants another iced tea, very sweetly asks for that. And Stephen says, "Now that's true, Drew. A perfect little contradictory moment from Hollywood's erstwhile Little Girl Lost. A kid who can crunch your heart with her naivete 1 second, and then the next curl her upper lip and make you feel like you just fell off the hay truck."
He really has a way with words.
Yeah.
The way he describes her, oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stephen mentions that 2 years ago, they had ended their article from, of course, the March 1992 issue, with Drew announcing to a town that had largely written her off, "I'm back." Mm-hmm. And he says she's not just back, but she's actually become somewhat ubiquitous at this time because there were rave reviews for Poison Ivy and Gun Crazy. She had starred in Amy Fisher's Story and 2000 Malibu Road. She had just finished filming Bad Girls. And of course, the guest ads were everywhere at this time. So Drew's in the ether.
There's her star rising. Yes.
She has come back.
Yes. Let's get into the ring down under rumors again, quote unquote. Drew is so pissed about it. Then Stephen mentions that there's another rumor about Billy Idol. So here's a little bit of details about that. This is a long quote, but it's pretty interesting and funny. And Drew's the way she's describing it is hilarious. So she said, "Now, I know you hear everything about everybody, so check this out. Since I saw you last, my friends Mel and Justine and I may go out to see a band or go out for something to eat, but I rarely go out anymore. It's just too big a hassle. People look at you like you're from another planet." She always says that.
I know.
Or she used to. "It's uncomfortable not only for me, but for my friends. So I'm like a recluse. But when my manager says that Billboard wants me to present their biggest award and he asks me, please, I do. The next morning, I'm reading USA Today like I do every morning and see Drew Barrymore gets herself a date with an idol. I hate seeing myself in the morning paper. So now I'm dating Billy Idol, huh? I'm reading it going, oh, fuck. Great, fine, whatever. I mean, I never went on a date with Billy Idol." And I'll let you take over here because you've got kind of a follow-up on this one.
Then my publicist hears that Rick Dees, this cheesy, bad 80s fingernails on the chalkboard talk host on Kiss FM, is planning to go on the air and say that I had this certain part of my body pierced. My publicist is going, please don't go on the air and say this because it's just not true. He went and said it anyway. I mean, Billy Idol and a pierced you know what. Thank you. Not a good day. And I'm like, that's it. Fuck it. No more favors. No more nothing. I am never going out again. And so not only is that just hilarious and I just love it, but she was still mad about this Rick Dees thing 3 years later when she was promoting Scream. I have some footage that isn't online, but we're going to do a really crappy recording off my TV and you can hear how she's still pissed at Rick Dees.
I don't have any body piercings.
We thought
not one.
Really?
Not one. In fact, that little jerk Rick Dees on Kiss FM, or he can kiss, I'll tell you what he can kiss. He said that I had my flower pierced, meaning that. I'm sorry, but anybody who's willing to put themselves through that needs therapy, not a piercing. I mean, I've never pierced anything on my entire body except for my ears. I have tattoos.
People just make up shit.
I know, it's so pointless.
Maybe she really did have it. What about that? Maybe it wasn't made up. So. Billy Idol's the one who saw her pierced, you know what? And both things are true.
Maybe Billy Idol asked her out on a date. And she said, no, I knew you when I was 10. And then he started the rumor. But it's okay. When they did The Wedding Singer, they buried the hatchet. Now we're making up rumors.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, so now another rumor about how a couple was using the names Drew Barrymore and Christian Slater to buy prescription drugs. And she says, oh, that one, grinning. Christian and I ran into each other the other day driving, and it was like, hey, prescription drugs, what's up? I had to be on the phone with the detective for the whole day going through all kinds of bullshit because, as you know, some chick and guy were going around to all these pharmacies getting hardcore prescription drugs posing as Drew Barrymore and Christian Slater. I think it's over with, but wasn't that fun? Jeez.
Oh my God. That's so wild.
Yeah.
Also, like, what a different time that you could just get prescription drugs under someone else's name. How would you even do that?
Like, what?
Yeah, how does that
Like,
work?
maybe they weren't successful, but they were trying.
Yeah, that's probably it. Then there's another rumor that Drew was at the Viper Room the night River Phoenix died, which would have been, I think, October 93. I think he died on Halloween, from what I remember. My friend's sister really liked him. I think I talked about this before. So I like heard it on the radio and like noted it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But she says, I was in Texas making Bad Girls. I was watching CNN headline news, waiting to go to work when I found out. Then I found out that Fellini had died. Oh man, that was a terrible day. I lit 2 candles and prayed for them both. I've never been once to the Viper Room. It's a weird scene out there now, a weird vibe, one that's best to keep away from. I've gotten to a point in my life where I figure, why be in a room where you're totally fucking uncomfortable? I stay in my circle of friends, people I choose to live my life with. I can completely be myself and I'm never judged. I'm just a human being in these people's eyes. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love that last part.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the whole thing is very sweet. She's just like, no, I was just working and I wouldn't be out there in that space where these things are happening and people are overdosing. And
yeah, and how annoying that she's like tied to that after all these years have gone by. Like, come on.
They just want to associate her with the scene somehow.
Yep.
Yeah. So then Stephen wants to know what she is into for fun since she's not into going out, since it's none of these rumored things. And she says, fat adult primetime white trash TV. She fires back laughing. Every Wednesday for the past 2 years has been girls' night. We cook and watch Beverly Hills 90210 and Melrose Place in complete fascination. Call us cheesy. We don't care. It doesn't get any better. Our guy friends used to be like, you girls are so lame. Now they're like, can we please come over?
I feel like she talks about this so many times. I love that it went on for quite a while in her life. And I do remember somewhere along the line, sorry, I don't have the source, she mentioned Leonardo DiCaprio came over on one of those watch nights, which I could totally, time-wise, totally make sense.
Yep.
And then Stephen mentions how he's sad about 2000 Malibu Road's early cancellation. And Drew says that there was so much good stuff that they didn't get a chance to get into. Like, if you've seen that show, it's a little, I wonder. Yeah. And then Stephen also brings up another rumor that Aaron Spelling was apparently trying to cast her on 90210 to revitalize the show.
Oh my God.
She doesn't address that in the article, but I remember hearing that like back in articles other times. So it makes sense that like even somebody would make that up, you know, even if it wasn't true.
Sure. Why not? Rumors galore.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we get into some bad girls talk. And this gets into some stuff I kind of forgot this part of the article, but we know that things were kind of tense on that set. But this goes into some details that, I mean, it goes into like a surprising amount of detail.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's actually, again, I don't think you would ever see this these days, that she's promoting this movie and she's talking about how horrible the experience was.
Right.
And what a disaster production was. Like, I don't think this would be buried now.
In some ways, well, we'll get into it, but in some ways she is being like vague enough that it's not like, I don't know. Anyway, let's get into it. So she describes that the movie was originally a, quote, rough, gritty little movie starring a couple of cool chicks for New Line.
Love that.
And it was with her friend Tamara Javis directing. And then it became this big budget film for Fox. And Stephen points out that she hadn't done a studio film since See You in the Morning, which that's kind of crazy.
That one shocked me. I was like, that can't be right. And then I'm like going through all the weird little movies she did in between. And yeah.
A bunch of like indies and stuff, probably.
And again, why does See You in the Morning keep coming up? I feel like that you never hear about that movie. And then in the past 3 weeks, it's like everywhere.
We're being inundated with See You in the Morning. Here's a quote. I have been connected to the project for 3 months when my agent called and said Fox had bought it and that my original contract was out the window. I was like, what do I have to do to get this part back? The answer was I had to jump through every hoop of fire in the business. I had to meet everybody at Fox. I played the game. Thank God everybody was incredibly gracious. They practically apologized at the end of the meetings for having to do this. The only reason I wasn't completely resentful was that I've made it a point to climb up the ladder so slowly, never trotting on anyone's toes, trying to build a stable base for myself so that I would never fall back down again. I couldn't handle another fall like that.
Oh, which is so weird because I feel like we were just talking about that earlier in this show. I also found it really interesting to think about like some of the things we've learned, when she had the Bad Girls reunion on her show, that like she was definitely like not in a great place as far as like being trusted by the industry. It was shaky ground. And I think that's why when we heard that, there might have been a little run in with the law about some pot, like, and that it got buried, like how unbelievably grateful she was for the help with that. Because like, I could see if that had come out at this time and she's already like, we don't know about you. Like that could have been the end of it for her,
Yeah.
Stephen asks if she got a pay raise once the budget was increased on the movie. And she just kind of smiles and says, climbing that ladder has been going very slowly and that she makes small money. And she says, quote, "That's never my first priority. To me, money is paper that burns people. I need enough to pay my rent."
Yeah.
She feels very in line with her.
Yeah. And then she says something about like, one day I'll make $1 million a film.
I know.
And like,
if she only knew.
If she only knew it, she went way beyond that. I also was like curious that they asked that question about like, did that mean you got a pay bump? And that, I don't know. It is interesting. I think
because maybe she had that rapport with Stephen. He felt comfortable. I don't know.
The money is paper that burns people. That feels like a Drewism.
Yeah, that felt like something her dad would say. I don't know.
It does, actually.
There's some good dad stuff later on. Stay tuned.
That's right. So Drew gets into talking about the cat fights on the set of Bad Girls and difficulties among the Bad Girls actresses at first.
Yeah.
So she said it was becoming so incredible that like nobody was shocked by anybody else's behavior. It was just how it was. It was a totally unstable production. Nobody got along. The pits, the worst. I had never seen so much shit going on, I love coming in and doing my work, not doing all the politics and the partying. I tried desperately to keep myself out of it.
Oof. And again, this article doesn't mention it, but the producer, Linda Obst, the way that she, I think, comes in and starts handling stuff on this was like absolutely the like seed being planted for Drew for Flower Films. She saw how Linda handled this and she's like, I want to go and be like the reason that these productions don't act like this. It's really cool. All right. So suddenly the production of Bad Girls was halted and Tamra was unfortunately let go as director and all of the actresses were temporarily dismissed. And so Drew says, quote, "I never thought they would make Tamra the scapegoat. Unfortunately, they did. I came back home and I had to make really sure that I could go to her and say, if you want me to leave the picture along with you, I'd be more than happy to do so. I mean, 99.9% of my motivation to do this film was because of her. And when I got a call saying, you need to get back up here immediately, we've got a new director, Tamra encouraged me to do it." Just so sweet.
Yeah, that is sweet. It sucks that they put it on her.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned, if in case you guys don't know, Tamra directed Gun Crazy. And she also, Drew lived with her and her husband, who happened to be Beastie Boys' Mike D, just random. Yep. She lived with them for a little while. So
was the timeline of her living with them around Gun Crazy timeline?
Yeah, we don't really know, but it seems to be right in that range. Yeah, I think it had to be.
Yeah, so there was definitely like a paternal-maternal relationship, I think, with her and Mike D and Tamra.
Definitely.
Yeah, in a way, even though she wasn't that much older. So Drew was encouraged when the director, Tamra, was replaced with Jonathan Kaplan, who had done a film called Over the Edge that Drew said was one of her favorites.
I looked it up and now I already forgot who's in it. Matt Dillon, maybe? We should probably look. So there's not the people screaming at like me as I do in my car when people have stuff wrong. I am right. It is Matt Dillon. It's his film debut.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that was who was brought on as the replacement director. The writer, cinematographer, a bunch of cast members were also scrapped. And Cinda Williams.
I think she was Black. And so I think that was probably like notable because it then became all white cast.
Got it. And all the footage that they shot to that point was scrapped.
That's crazy.
But it must have become such a different movie. So here's the quote. "There were so many drastic changes. We didn't know who we were anymore. We also went to cowboy camp. which means up at 6, ride horses from 7 to 9 a.m., 15-minute break, shooting lessons from 9:30 to 10:30, roping lessons from 10:30 to 11:30. And she covers her face in her hands at the memory. Fuck, all I wanted to do was lie in bed and watch Supermarket Sweep. Then all of a sudden, I started to soften a little bit because I realized that we were getting good and started to look like we knew what we were doing.
Which is cool.
It's interesting to imagine that, like, the film was completely changed. Then they went to cowboy camp.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting.
Like, I want to know what the film was.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a gritty little, whatever she said, gritty little Western for New Line. But yeah,
it is so interesting to see, like, is that film in an archive somewhere?
I know.
You know, like whether it's like the script or the footage or anyway.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you, though. Like the cowboy camp thing, it's kind of wild. It took that long for somebody to be like, wait, these girls should probably look like they know how to ride a horse. Or whatever.
Right.
So at this point, the actresses also started bonding with each other. Drew does mention that she like really wanted to feel like an equal to everyone. But when she came on set, her trailer was the smallest one and she felt a little bit like an outcast. You know, It's so fascinating that I don't think anybody could argue with the fact she's by far the most famous, successful of these 4 women.
Now, yeah.
But that at the time she was like, well, yeah, you're probably not on their level. It's just so funny how things change.
Totally.
She says, but all of a sudden, though, out there in Nowhereville, we let all that stuff go. No more Hollywood bullshit. We were totally in character, totally struggling, and we had to learn to become friends with each other and not be competitive. So I think that accounts for like, she clearly was great friends or like very loving feelings about Andie MacDowell and Mary Stuart Masterson when they came on her show. Mm-hmm. I was sort of surprised to read the beginning part with all these like cat fights and stuff. It's like, wow, that's not the impression you get, but they had to get there, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So Stephen tries to kind of dig for which co-star Drew liked the least. And Drew is very diplomatic and says like really nice things about Andie MacDowell, Mary Stuart Masterson, James LeGros, and Dermot Mulroney. And the author notes, having gone out of her way to say nothing about Madeline Stowe, Barrymore answers my question.
Which, of course, when they did the reunion, I was like, makes sense she's not there. I think they like say hi to her at the end, but I'm like, yeah, she probably wasn't invited. I don't know. Maybe none of them liked her.
But I had to note that she said Dermot was one of the nicest men I have ever met because we know that he helped her out with legal stuff during the filming because, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I know. I love that, like, this info from way back when, and then like 30 years later, it's like, putting those pieces together like we love to do over here.
Yep. Always unpeeling more of the onion that is Drew.
And then this is a great quote about it. She says, the thing this movie brought back for me is fearlessness. There was so much time to spend quality time with Drew. And I was like, and it says she breaks off feigning nausea. Then serious again, she observes, I couldn't understand what I needed to fulfill me. It sure wasn't a boyfriend. There was this overwhelming emptiness inside and no way of avoiding it. I met this wonderful hairdresser on the movie, and while I was crying one day, she was comforting me, and I said, I need to know, does it get easier in life? And she said it does. When I got back, I went to visit Stephen at his office, and I asked him the same thing. And of course, Stephen is Steven Spielberg here, and he told her, yes, life does get easier.
Yep, she still has that relationship, or she has that relationship again with him, because we know that there was like a break in it.
Yeah, because if you guys remember last article, the Movieline 92, it sounded like there has been a little distance between them, and she was like heartbroken about it.
So Drew said about Steven Spielberg, I listened to him, looked at this little painting of clouds and buildings that I made for him when I was 6 years old that he keeps framed on his wall, and I thought, Stephen is obviously one of the ultimate people that I respect, yet he will always look at me as a young child. There's something so comforting about that someone would see someone else through such pure eyes.
Again, and sorry to like keep referring back to it, but she's kind of saying the same thing in the last article, but she's a little resentful in that one. You know, she's like 16.
Can't
she's like,
see me as an adult.
Yeah, let me wear my red lipstick. And then now she's sort of, and even today, this is more in line with how she feels about it. Like she loves that he feels that way about her. I also would really like to see this painting of the clouds and buildings.
Me too.
I wonder if he still has it up. It's so cool.
That is cool. And she continues about Bad Girls. While making Bad Girls, I was thinking, do I want to change who I am? And I felt like it was the time. On my days off, I would drive around to little towns hundreds of miles away, just trip around, dig nature, paint a picture, think about things, write a lot. I came back from this movie a very changed person. For the first time in my life, I'm not afraid.
Oh, I love that. I love the like trip around, dig nature, paint a picture. It's very Drew of this era to me. It's like kind of how I always picture her.
And I'm just like, I want to be a fly on the wall in those like long road trips of like young Drew.
Amazing.
Just think of like I don't know. I'm just thinking of like music in the car. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems so fun.
Okay, so we're kind of done with the Bad Girl stuff, and now she wants to show Stephen, the author, not Spielberg, her new house. So it says they careen in her big black utility vehicle through the narrowest passageways of the hills above Hollywood en route to her place. And of course, this is hilarious because there's a whole thing about her driving around in their last article, and they will talk about this. In the car, she's, quote, wrapped in designer shades with a Marlboro dangling from her lips. She drives like a bat out of hell.
Yes,
of course. And she says that she does not believe that she's a good actress. And again, this is something, she still says.
Yep.
She says, quote, but I think I have an amazing ability to adapt to other people, to bring them to life. I don't know where it stems for. If I'm schizophrenic, then at least I use it to the best of my ability. It's that technique thing I'm afraid of. I don't know if what I do on screen is right, wrong, good, bad. I don't want to go to classes. I want to do a character, no holds barred, to give my soul to that person. I never want to alter that. If I ever start talking to you about my craft, my instrument, you have permission to shoot me point blank.
She's true. She said some version of that many times. You're right.
Yeah. There's one of the Letterman. I think it might be the flashing one where she says that. I can't act.
Yeah. So it said Drew plays music. I think they're in her car at this point still, by an all-girl punk group she and her pals went out to hear last night. And you made a note like, would love to know who that is. Me too.
I know.
And in the car, there's like this kind of like arrhythmic rattling, and apparently it's her purse. And she says, you can always hear me coming because of my Motrin, she explains, laughing. So her like medicine bottles shaking in the car because the music's so loud. I kind of love that.
Yeah.
And then Drew says, God, I love to drive, she says as she shaves a corner on, I swear, 2 wheels. This is one of those days, the kind where you're really happy driving around, smiling for no reason, singing along with your song, and people are looking at you like, who's that crazy blonde? Yeah. So what happened to her BMW, the one in which we tore through Hollywood one night a couple years back? Accident, she mutters. I lost my license for months.
And I was cracking up because, do you remember when Sarah Gilbert came on the show? Drew says, I think I lost my license filming Poison Ivy. But like either she did it twice or she got the timelines a little messed up. But definitely, in that late 91, early 92. I don't know how she kept all these like car accidents out of the press. That's a miracle to me.
That's true. Because there's no article that talks about it except for her talking about it herself.
Yeah. So then they arrive at the 20s era Spanish house where she lived with Justine. And this is Justine Baddeley. She's been mentioned on the show countless times. Drew's really good friend from way back. And again, wish we knew anything about where this house was. We have no this is like the most we've ever heard about it.
Yeah.
So Stephen's description of the house, and just this sets the scene so well.
Yeah.
Piles of clothes, pocket money, cassettes, books by Bukowski. The decor, blue velvet meets Little Women, plum and cranberry walls, overstuffed Victorian sofas, flowy drapes, oversized mirrors, dressers decorated with decoupages, psychedelic-hued Mexican votive candles, a goldfish wobbling in a bowl that hasn't been cleaned anytime recently, stacks of CDs and videotapes, and photos of Audrey Hepburn from Breakfast at Tiffany's and Sue Lyon in Lolita, of course.
Of course. She was so obsessed with that Lolita character. Love that description.
So good. So good.
So good. We just love to like picture these spaces.
Give me the photos.
Right.
Give us these from your archives, Drew.
It's probably the like most random thing for people to be like, I just want to see those strange spaces where this person used to inhabit. Like it's, you know, like, oh.
Yeah. It's so appealing to my brain, though.
Right. We've heard so many descriptions of these like different fun spaces of Drew's, and
totally.
just to be there. So the author, Stephen, he jokingly calls it the house that Guess pays for, meaning the Guess ads. And Drew shares the story about finding it, the house, being heartbroken about not being able to afford it, and then literally getting a call about the Guess campaign the next day, and says they paid exactly what she needed for the house.
I love that. Manifestation.
Yes. And Stephen asks her how it feels to be, quote, an international sex kitten, thanks to the ads. She said, that campaign changed my life. Now half of my work is film, the other half is print ads. I asked Paul Marciano, the owner of the company, your models are 6 feet tall, drop dead gorgeous, and weigh 2 pounds. Why me? He said, you just have the right feel, the right look. Oh, yeah? So I walked into a meeting with the whole creative team when I was broken out in an allergic reaction. They were looking at me over like, you're scary.
But they saw through it, Drew. They knew.
Yes. And then this last note about the Guess ads is that she mentioned that her male model co-star, Werner, she's known since she was 13.
And I was like, of course. He's probably way older than her.
Probably. And she requested him for both of the shoots she did because she said he was so goofy and wonderful. Which I like how she said it helped because they had to pretend they were kissing each other all day in like weird positions. So she's like, they had to be able to laugh about that.
Imagine how many of them have her like neck kind of arched backwards.
Right.
And we do have the whole, one of our very earlier episodes, I think it's number 6, is about the whole campaign. And it has these quotes and some other ones about the whole process. And yeah, it's really fun to look back on. We love the Guess campaign.
God, is it really that early of an episode? Holy crap.
Yeah. So Stephen wants to know like how she's really doing these days. So here's the quote. For many years, I was so unhappy. I have moments of happiness, but for the most part, I was always down on myself. Of course, side note there, I'm like, it never changes for Drew. She says, I felt completely alone for so many years. Growing up, I didn't know that the key to my happiness was myself. Right now, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I wake up with a sense of ease, of pain, of fulfillment, but not loneliness. There are certain parts of my life that are totally confused, but that's everybody. It's strange. I'm like, why am I so happy? I'm loving the fact that I get to work. My career is going really well. I'm enjoying life because I have friends and I have work in the most inconsistent profession you can have. So I can definitely see how like things going so well with her career really helped like her sense of happiness. But we know it's something she still struggles with to this day to feel good about herself.
Right. But I'm like, I just look at this and go like, she is a person who's always loved to be busy. So for her having been as busy as like we just saw this list of stuff, like she had that validation of like she was being hired.
Yep, going on to sets.
Exactly. So usually she does feel good at those times.
Yeah.
Historically for Drew. So then they dig into Drew's journals, which
salivating over here. Of all the things to see, this would be like our most wanted.
Yes. So then he describes the journals. He says there are pages of flowers, rappers' phone numbers, Polaroids of Balthazar Getty's hounds, rubber stamps of daisies and butterflies, postcards from her friends. And it says as she thumbs through the pages, out drops a couple $100 bills, which she shrugs away.
That's just, paper that burns people.
Of course. And then she reads some of her pensies. Is that like kind of your like thoughts? Is that what that word
I looked it up. It's actually like not a very commonly used word. It's neat.
Cool.
That's probably why I associate it with her, because it's probably the only time I've ever heard it.
Yeah, probably. So then she says, these are all the words I love. So we get a little extra Drew loves today.
I love love.
So she said, these are all the words I love. Hope and daisies, the sun, prayer, laughter, strength, nature, kissing, the rain, cigarettes, feelings, spirituality, the sky, bubbles, pot, religion, fire, water, holding hands, praying, searching, finding.
And maybe this is just like me, but instantly I get like deep, heavy, nostalgic feelings for like early fan sites. I have a feeling this was like posted on one of them. Probably one of Missy's early ones, and just being like so enamored with this little list. This other little pensy from her journal says, love is the sunshine, someone's hand to hold, the life that keeps us warm, the arrow that points us all in the right direction, ice cream, knowledge, strength, something or someone to cherish, good friends, hope, because we all hope to be loved. Love is what we all hope to give and receive. Love is good music, laughter, peace, comfort, fulfillment when you're in need.
Oh,
so sweet. I also liked that the arrow that points us all in the right direction. I feel like now she uses the word compass, or like North Star a lot, but it's the same thing. Like she says, like her love for her daughters is like her North Star that points her in the right direction of what to do. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So some of these like same ideas.
Yeah.
Permeate.
She's so consistent.
And it feels like her, all these things.
Oh, totally.
So then, so Stephen asks, is love ever a juicy romantic lead role in a movie, or better yet, in real life?
Some digging or something. Digging for some dirt.
Yeah. And then she admits that she hasn't really done much of that, like juicy romantic lead stuff on film at the time, which is kind of funny.
Totally.
Aside from kissing Sarah Gilbert, which she's kind of like being silly about.
Of course, we got to bring that up.
Yep. And then he asks, who else would she like to kiss on screen? And she says, Johnny Depp's about as cute as they come, with that very beautiful mouth. It's ooh, like a little bow, a rose.
Which is so cute, even though he's a piece of shit. But she didn't know that at the time. We'll give her a pass.
And then she says, Christian's cute. I'm sure she means Christian Slater, because they were just talking about him.
What's up, prescription drugs?
Christian's cute. It's strange. I don't think that many boys are cute. Boys, 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 boys. I don't know about him. I haven't been with anybody in so long. Part of me is so not focused. If I see a cute boy, I'm like, oh, he's cute. And it goes in and out of my mind. I'm a little worried about what I'm saying. Why don't I think anybody's cute?
And I'm cracking up because remember in Movieline, she's upset saying the same thing. She said in that time, you see, I have a problem with men. I'm obsessed with them, completely wrapped up in them. And 6 months later, I want nothing to do with them. And I just sit there in my shit, crying and talking to God. Why have I lost this feeling? It's devastating to me.
She doesn't like that she's like not that into the boys right now.
She wants to like hold on to that feeling.
I guess so.
I think she admits she's a love junkie.
But yeah, between those 2 years, between 92 and 94, she was like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. Well, you got to think, like, aside from Jamie Walters, which we're going to get into right now, there wasn't really any relationships in that time that we know of anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So Stephen does mention that relationship with Jamie Walters. And I think this is probably like, well, I know in details 1993, she also gets into it. But I do like that we're really getting kind of like behind the scenes of that breakup. She says, I thought that my life was becoming a fairy tale. And then boom, one day it's not happening. We were oh so happy. The first time in my life that I felt that kind of safety and happiness with another human being. The first time in my life that I let my walls down with a man, which made me all the more vulnerable. So I'm the ultimate cynic now. Love sucks. And I just have to stop right there and say that's the headline that they put on the cover under her name. And this, keep a little note in your mind about that. Put a pin in it because it's going to come back around the next time we do a Movieline article for the 1995 issue. Okay, but continuing on, she says, I was not the one who did the leaving. I went through an incredible amount of pain over that relationship. I've only gone on 1 or 2 dates since, and they were absolute disasters. The person that I thought was my great love wasn't. Oh, how many times is that going to happen to her in the future?
Yeah.
Boys, they're totally confusing to me. You think that they're on one track, and then she makes the sound of screeching brakes, smashing fenders. They're zooming off on another track, and you're like, I'm so confused. Oh my God, Steve, let's sing Cry Me a River.
And I love this next part because then it's like, and then we did. And then she says, I'm such a total drama queen and I love to get into the agony of it. Fuck it. If you're going to go through it, you might as well milk it every once in a while, right? Have a really good cry.
I feel like that's very you.
I don't usually let myself have the good cry. You know, it's like there is something to that.
Yeah.
So then Stephen asks about her parents. So here's when we get a little...
the requisite moment about the parents in every article.
So regarding her father, she said, when I was younger, I thought he was crazy. Now I think it's the grooviest thing ever. You can't put him in a nutshell. He's so many different people. If I truly need him, I can find him. He'll leave me a message on my machine every couple months. Daughter, it's father. I'm out living life. I'm looking at a tree right now. She says, oh yeah? Go hug it, Dad, you big hippie.
I like that she was having like a very positive feeling about him at this time because I can't imagine that was easy to get there for her. And
maybe she just kind of came to peace with that he wasn't going to be able to give her exactly what she needed, but what she got, she was like, this is fun. Or maybe she was able to see it as fun.
Kind of amazing that she got to that.
Totally. And then regarding her mom, she said, I haven't seen her in over a year, in a tone that says this is just fine with her. So things don't seem to be good with Jade at this time, as they were not for so much of her life.
After stabbing her in Doppelganger, that kind of was the final nail in the coffin. I don't know. It feels like that was the last time they were really good.
Yeah. And we don't even really know how good it was.
Yeah. Stephen wonders if she's now nervous about the upcoming filming of Boys on the Side after all the hassles of Bad Girls. Mm-hmm. And she admits, and we mentioned this in our Boys on the Side episode, but just in case you forgot, she admits that she did try to discreetly back out of Boys on the Side. But the director, Herbert Ross, wouldn't have it and said that she was the only one he wanted for the part, which was like, of course, a huge compliment to her. And can you imagine anybody else in that part? No.
No.
And Stephen asked if she had to jump through hoops with the studio for this project as well. And her quote is, I think 1993 is the last year that I had to deal with that kind of bullshit. But if anyone's watching to see if I go Hollywood, that's not going to happen. Because of all the things that have happened in my career, up and down, I'll never take things for granted. And I know what it feels like to know that I might never work again. Now I treat every movie, every opportunity as if it's the last one I'm going to do. And again, we just said that earlier, but like she still says that about every season of her show.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unbelievable. 30 years have gone by. Still the same.
Yep. So now we're coming to the end. So after the ending 1992 article with I'm Back, she's given the opportunity to choose her ending here. And so she slowly straightens herself in her seat, smiles triumphantly, makes sure the tape recorder is running and exclaims, the sky's the limit.
Oh, which is like, gosh, if she only knew how true that was. Like, I mean, 93, 94 is like, yes, she was in a lot of places. She was coming back, but it's like not even the tip of the iceberg of where she was going to go.
Right.
It's kind of amazing.
That she can see the good coming, even if she does have the pessimism that persists. Right?
Yeah. I don't think she could have possibly known this like wedding singer ever after Never Been Kissed, Charlie's Angels era. Like that'd probably blow her mind.
Right. Little did she know that within just a few short years, she would have such big fans as Ashley and Anne, who would stick around. No, just kidding.
The ultimate goal that she had, of course.
Yes, of course. Of course. Always seeking us. Okay. So there we are. There's Movieline 1994. Stay tuned for Movieline 1995.
Which is definitely probably my favorite, at least off the top of my head. I've read that one a lot. I mean, we love 95 Drew. You guys are going to really love that one too, but I love this, like, yeah, let's do the series. Let's build. Let's go from one to the next. Like, these first three are the best because it's the same author, but they all have really good stuff. They always went really deep on these articles. I miss that magazine.
And I wonder why, because there was a 1998 as well.
Yeah, which is a really good one.
I wonder why Stephen Rebello didn't return for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. He answered one of our messages, but it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know that I could tell you anything that's not in the articles. I'm like,
yeah,
I bet you could, though.
But now we want to know, why didn't you return? What was the beef? No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So thanks, you guys. Hope you enjoyed doing a magazine again. It had been a minute. We love doing them. And of course, rate, review, subscribe. Guys, where's our new rating on Apple Podcasts? I haven't seen one in a while. We want you to tell us how cool we are. And then we'll read it back to you.
Yeah. All you new listeners, if you have only heard us say that a few times, that means you haven't been pushed to go do that. So go do that. Go do some ratings.
And if you don't already, follow us on Instagram at How Do You Drew Pod and our other account at Drewseum. Yes, Drewseum is the name that we came up with 20 years ago. And we're still using it.
That's us. That's us. Y'all know that. Visit our website at howdoyoudrew.com, hosted on thedrewseum.com. Sign up for our Patreon.
Patreon.com/howdoyoudrew.
And don't forget to send listener mail to howdoyoudrewpod@gmail.com. And thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This episode of the How Do You Drew podcast was researched and produced by Ashley and Anne from thedrewseum.com with help from our sponsor, Positive Medium.
Special thanks to Matt Costa for our lovely theme song, Roxy Prima for our adorable logo, and last but not least, Drew Barrymore and all the Drewbies who love her. We do this for you.
Thank you.